Mega Man, the Blue Bomber, the character that helped define NES Hard, the guy that was to be succeeded by Mighty No. 9 Nevermind. Mega Man was Capcom's mascot for quite a few years, but once Keiji Inafune left Capcom, they didn't really know what to do with Mega Man as they cancelled all projects relating to him at that time. In fact, aside from compilations and a mobile game that got an offline version, take notes, Cernks, he's only had one new game in 2018 in Mega Man 11. Thankfully, we're getting Mega Man 12, aka Mega Man Dual Override, in 2027 next year. With that history lesson out of the way, I fucking love the Mega Man Zero games, man. Taking place 100 years after the events of the Mega Man X series, which in itself takes place at least 100 years after the classic Mega Man series, Zero ends up revived from a dormant sleep to help save the world from the oppressive regime of Neo Arcadia, which is a utopia for humans that are coddled into thinking everything is okay because they're idiots who show their ID to Google. There's the first game in Mega Man Zero, which I think is a good game marred heavily by first game syndrome. No skills gained from bosses, the Cyber Elf system requires way too many energy crystals to raise them, with one of the more important ones alone taking 3,500 of them to fully raise. And the best place to farm energy crystals is in an area that gets blocked off after you play a specific level that takes place in it. So you might want to farm there for ages before doing so, even though the amount of energy crystals you need is more than the amount you can hold in the game.
Are you freaking killing me?
I also managed to get Jackson, the rare Cyber Elf you can get by only getting all the Cyber Elves and raising them all but never using them, which unfortunately led to... Then there's Mega Man Zero 2, aka one of the best sequels ever made. So much was improved here, from the music, to the Cyber Elf system, to level design, to including special forms, and they even made EX skills earnable, but only at a high enough rank, which I don't care for very much. Thankfully, the save checkpoint system in the Legacy Collection makes it easier to do in case you take too much damage and opt to die to redo the part from your most recent checkpoint. Oh, and it also has the most upsetting noise I've ever heard in my life. So everyone says Mega Man Zero 3 is the best game in the Zero series, but after playing the games on the Zero ZX Legacy Collection back in 2020, I found Mega Man Zero 2 to end up being the better one. Like, I had a lot more nostalgia and fun with it and all that. But at the same time, it's been 6 years since then, so maybe my opinion will change again and revert back to what it was before. To quick go over some important stuff, in the first game, Zero ends up defeating the leader of Neo Arcadia in Copy X, a replica of Zero's longtime friend and rival, X, who was created by Ciel at age 6, yes really, but has none of the redeeming qualities that X had due to not going through the 100 years of rigorous testing that the original X had gone through. In the second game, a corrupt entity is released in the Dark Elf, which leads to a tease for the third game regarding an unknown entity known as Omega. This takes place 2 months after that. Let's get started, shall we? The game starts off with Zero, Ciel, and 2 soldiers searching for the source of a weird energy signal they found that's similar to the Dark Elf. They eventually find a giant sword-shaped spaceship, and then see 2 of the 3 Guardians of X, which used to be 4, but we murdered one of them, inside fighting a giant hulking monstrosity of a Reploid simply named Omega. It's then revealed that he kinda belongs to the new villain of the series in Dr. Wile, spelled W-E-I-L, which I thought was pronounced Wheel as a kid, but since his name in Japan is Dr. Vile, I'm pronouncing it similar to that. He's a brilliant scientist, a mastermind of hate. He looks like he says the R slur and somehow thinks it's okay because he's using it towards bigots, ableist ass clown. And he can bring Reploids back to life, which includes Copy X, except he has a stutter. Either something's up, or Wile isn't actually that brilliant. Wile and Omega were banished from society for 100 years due to unspecified events that almost brought an end to humanity, but Copy X is too busy being grateful to him for reviving him to care. The game is largely the same as the last game in regards to gameplay, but with a few changes. For starters, while EX skills still need to be earned with an A or S rank, it's a bit easier than the last game to get said ranks, with adjustments to what amount of damage is fine to take for high enough mission points, along with more reasonable enemy kill requirements and also reasonable time requirements for each stage, which works out because the EX skills rule and locking them behind a ranking system after years of just earning them after being the boss they're tied to is fucking stupid. Come to think of it, I never went over how these work in the first 2 videos of the series, so let me go over that real quick. Your rank for each stage is determined based on how well you do in each stage, relying on how well you do the mission objective, how quickly you finish the stage, how little damage you take, how many enemies you kill, how many times you die and use a life, which isn't an issue with the save checkpoint system here, and how many elves you brutally murder throughout the game. You get special code names with each rank, and the rank you usually are shown is your average rank overall, which is important for the EX skill earning as it largely relies on that for if you should even get one or not. In addition, you no longer have to level up your weapons to use combos and charge attacks, so have fun with the Z-Saber's triple slash and charge attacks right away. They also replaced the chain rod from the last game with the recoil rod, which, it's an alright weapon, but I've largely ever only used the Z-Saber and the Z-Buster in these games unless it's required to use the other ones for very specific instances anyway. In fact, I never used the shield boomerang in my playthrough of this game other than to showcase these EX skills for it, so it's no wonder that the fourth game gets rid of it entirely. Form system is gone, but is kinda sorta replaced by a chip system that gives you special abilities such as faster weapon charging, water hopping, and no recoil from when you get hit. How do you get these clips? The same way you get Cyber Elves in this game. Collectibles called Secret Discs. They're not all chips and Cyber Elves though, as some contain energy crystals and bios of enemies and characters, but they're still pretty neat to get. There are 180 of them, so get cracking. And no, as far as I know, none of them are missable, as you can replay these stages if you need to grind for energy crystals or whatever else. As for the Cyber Elves, they changed them up quite a bit, as there are now two types of elves. There are the Fusion Elves, which are like the typical ones we're used to, that once they're used, they're fucking dead. Now, however, there are Satellite Elves, which can be equipped without actually having to use them, but only two at a time. In addition, certain Fusion Elves can be changed into Satellite Elves, so you can use them without hurting your rank. Since you can only equip two at a time though, the best you can get for, say, health upgrades is by having your health capacity increased by 25% along with doubling the health that you already have. There's also a new part of stages called Cyberspace that popped up due to the coexistence of Omega and the Dark Elf. It allows you to have certain Cyber Elf abilities without using them, thus making it a bit easier to go through, but at the cost of 5 mission points each time you enter it. You also can't get secret discs in it, and you need to exit it before you get to the bosses, so you can go into it up to 2 times per level, with only one level not really giving a penalty for a reason I'll bring up later. I do also remember one special thing about Cyberspace though, that sadly doesn't seem to be a thing in the Zero ZX Legacy Collection. If you linked a copy of Mega Man 03 with a copy of Mega Man Battle Network 4, and specifically Battle Network 4, may God help us all, the enemies in Cyberspace will become enemies from the Battle Network series, which I think is really cool. And I'm surprised Capcom didn't make it so save data from the Battle Network Legacy Collection could be detected to make it happen. Like, they could have just added that as a feature to the Zero ZX Legacy Collection VNN update. Why didn't they? You know, even if it would start rumors about a Battle Network Legacy Collection being in the works, that was gonna happen anyway. And it did. I don't understand why they didn't do this. It's like if Nintendo didn't include the e-reader levels in the re-releases on the Wii U and the Switch of Super Mario Advance 4 Super Mario Bros. 3. It'd be like if Sega didn't include the original Sonic 3 music in the release of Sonic Origins. Oh wait. One thing that's special about the Legacy Collection is that you can unlock mod cards for this game based on the e-reader cards made for the game in Japan for use with the Game Boy Advance e-reader, which I referred to just a bit earlier. They didn't make it here because the e-reader was one of the worst selling products Nintendo ever made, much like their 64DD, Sega's 32X add-on for the Sega Genesis, and the tickets to the movie Melania. The way to unlock them is by earning achievements labeled as ZZ cards, which, yes, are tied to the achievements on the Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation copies. I managed to get them all on my Switch copy, and I'll fucking do it again. It allows you to change up how the resistance space looks, from adding flowers to cats to making it nighttime to adding seagulls and fish in certain parts of it, to even adding NPCs that give you extra energy crystals, including this one that I swear to God makes me so happy that I said I remember her because it made her super happy. I mean, I didn't remember her till she mentioned who she was, but whatever. Wait. I just realized something. So this woman is very clearly in love with Zero, or at least crushing on her, to the point that she outright kissed him. Ciel is crushing on him too, and apparently, from what I've looked up, Leviathan even is down bad for him. And the funny thing is, he doesn't even realize any of it. At the same time though, I would argue it's all problematic. Because Leviathan is a villain. I don't think it's going to end up like 2017 She-Ra. And as for Ciel, she's a minor. She's a teenager. Like, I believe throughout the game's events, she goes from 14 years old to 16 years old. And even if Zero is a robot, I don't know, man. He's still mentally much older. You know, like how people have criticism about Trunks and Mai being a couple in Dragon Ball Super. Whether or not that was a Toriyama idea or a Toyotaro idea, it's not a good idea, let's be honest here. It's pretty gross, like with a lot of the fan service that anime tends to have. Especially the one involving minors. What is wrong with you, Japan? And the third girl... Actually, no, she isn't problematic at all. Let's just hope that she doesn't disappear again and/or ends up locked behind another system accessory. Oh, you can also add lone cyber elves of Elpizzo from the second game and a more unknown one that I'll bring up later to the base. For those that don't know Elpizzo, he was a commander of the Resistance base in Zero 2, but he tried to lead an all-out assault against Neo Arcadia, failed miserably, got corrupted by the Dark Elf's promise of power, even though she didn't promise anything, he just heard about it and got corrupted like that. And completely destroyed X's body that was sealing the Dark Elf. Yeah, this is what happened to him. The music is... It's not as good as the second game, if I'm being honest. But that doesn't mean they all suck. The game also has minigames, which I've only unlocked one of, it seems. I don't want to unlock all the other ones, sorry. So it turns out that Ciel has managed to make a new energy source dubbed the Ciel system, as part of why things are the way they are is due to an energy shortage. Too bad Weil doesn't care and is a bitter old bitch. He ends up managing to convince Copy X to launch a missile into a human-populated district of Neo Arcadia to get the Dark Elf, killing tons of people in the process. Due to this, when he and Copy X contact Ciel about the energy system, she can't trust them to use it for good. Zero then has to fend off Neo-Arcadian forces and fight old foes from the first game that Weil revived and are kinda acting a bit uncharacteristic of themselves. To be fair though, they have been dead for at least a year, so of course their minds are going to be a bit warped, which probably also explains the stutter that Copy X is dealing with. Zero ends up finding Copy X only to discover that Weil laid a trap in him that ended up killing him. Okay, that explains the stutter. Go figure, I'm completely wrong about this one. Thus, Weil ends up becoming the new leader of Neo Arcadia. Zero and the Resistance Base then do some digging to figure out who Weil is and why he wants the Dark Elf. Those humans haven't been told a thing. No, that's not it. They haven't tried to learn a thing. Lives with plenty of food and comfort. People have stopped bothering to think with their heads. There may still be some people who want to do something. If we could somehow let those kinds of people know what Dr. Weil is really thinking, we might be able to change Neo Arcadia. Turns out his crimes against humanity are far worse than we could have envisioned. X had used something called Mother Elf, created from Zero's cognitive program along with Cyber Elves as a whole while he was in stasis, to delete the Sigma virus and thus save the world. Unfortunately, Weil decided to convert Mother Elf into the Dark Elf in order to control all Reploids, and it brought about the Elf Wars, a 4-year-long war that wiped out 60% of humanity and 90% of Reploids. He was converted into a cyborg and forced to live forever while being placed in exile for his crimes. X had then sealed the Dark Elf away with his body in order to keep it from being misused ever again, which, as we all know, didn't fucking work. Weil unfortunately manages to succeed and even almost gets Ciel and Zero killed, only for X to save them and keep the Resistance Base free from Weil's control. As for the aforementioned cyber stage with no real penalty, at least from what I looked up anyway, that one has a secret boss battle in Phantom, one of the 4 Guardians of X that Zero killed in the first game. He's the more unknown Cyber Elf I mentioned earlier you can meet through the e-reader, and man, this boss is tough. Granted, I had plenty of health to spare to lose, but I'd love to see someone beat him with the health bar you'd start off with, not gonna lie. Throughout the game, there have been comments about Zero from Weil, X, and even Phantom about his body, how the heart matters more, how he's not a true hero, and after we battle Omega, who's now infused with the Dark Elf, as well as a damn good second phase. Look at this design, this is fucking awesome! We managed to find our way to where Zero originally was while in stasis. only for Weil to call us a fake. Oh yeah, Dr. Wheel of Fortune? Should be Misfortune, but whatever. What's your proof? Oh, that's some good proof, actually. Omega is Zero? What the hell? Yeah, turns out our Zero is not actually a fake, because after a damn good third phase boss battle with Omega Zero, we find out that Zero's consciousness was put in a different body because Weil stole Zero's body to put Omega into, thus showing that our Zero is the real Zero. The Dark Elf manages to exit Omega and try to heal him, only for the remaining 3 Guardians of X to show up to support Zero. The Dark Elf also ends up finally breaking free of Weil's control, allowing Zero to do the final blow. You know, I'm not so sure that we should put him down. Maybe we could rehabilitate him. I'm sure that'll put a lot of our minds at ease to have 2 Zeros saving the day. Don't you think you're being selfish? X is now no longer able to help us as he exhausted all of his power, finally being able to rest in peace in cyberspace. Dark Elf is changed back to Mother Elf, free to do as she pleases, and Zero declares that he will always be who he is, the legend known as Zero. So, I will honestly forever love the second game more than any of the entries, let alone the third game. And mind you, the third game does have a lot of redeeming qualities. So, yeah, I can see why everyone thinks 3 is the best. Actually, no, I don't. You're all fucking wrong. Now, the funny thing about this is, this was supposed to be the last entry chronologically speaking in the Mega Man Zero series, as Inti Creates wanted to make a Mega Man 1.5 to show what happened during the year-long trek that Zero had between Mega Man Zero 1 and Mega Man Zero 2. Unfortunately, Capcom decided against that and made them make a 4th entry, and I want to say that the reason they cited was the fact that Dr. Weil was still a threat. I mean, I get it, but like, really is no wonder Inti Creates doesn't want anything to do with Capcom, huh? At the very least, though, we ended up with a form of Mega Man Zero 1.5 in the comic Mega Man Zero Timelines 1, which was even written by Ian Flynn, who was head writer of the Archie Mega Man comics, along with being the head writer of the latter half of the Archie Sonic comics, and is currently head writer of the IDW Sonic comics. Wait. The Archie Sonic comics are canon to the Mega Man comics due to the events of Worlds Collide. And the Mega Man comics are being brought back through a reprint published by Udon Entertainment, with the hopes that, like, if it does well enough, they'll make an issue 56, and if that does well enough, they'll continue the series. If this means the Archie Sonic comics can come back, so long as it's not involved with Ken Penders since he can burn in a furnace for all I care, and hopefully continue it from before the soft reboot. I mean, it's incredibly unlikely because Ken is an egotistical shart, but let me dream. Please. There's no ending joke here, by the way, just hope that something important from my childhood can come back. In fact, here's a positive message for you all. Never let go of the things you loved as a kid. Even if you're an adult, that doesn't mean you have to give up on those things. You want to keep watching Power Rangers? By all means. You want to use stickers on whatever you want to use them on? Go nuts. You want to be able to enjoy reading comics and manga? Disown your parents if they try to throw them away and tell you that you need to grow up. I'm still not over what Akira Ogata had to go through with her parents in My Dress-Up Darling. Do what makes you happy, as long as it's fun for you, and as long as you're not harming anyone. Take care of yourselves, be safe, I'll see you guys next time.